Setting apart. Read a little louder.
Yes, sir. To separate from the world and consecrate unto God.
To separate from the world and to consecrate unto God. And we saw earlier that God said, be ye holy for I am holy. I have severed you from all people, didn't he? Go ahead.
To sanctify anything is to declare that it belongs to God.
Go ahead.
It may refer to persons, places, days, and seasons, and objects used for worship.
Now, so that's what sanctification means, or sanctified means. It means set apart for God, or set apart for use. That's what this means. Go ahead. We're going to pick it back up at verse 5. Pick it back up at verse 5. Go ahead.
For it is sanctified by the word of God in prayer.
Now, where did God sanctify that? Where did he set what you shall eat and what you shall not eat? Where did he set this apart at? Did he do that in under the new covenant? No, he didn't do that under the new covenant, did he?
No, sir.
So now we got to go back to the old covenant to find out where he sanctified it at then, don't we? So we can't be just no New Testament Christian then, can we?
Make that plain.
You got to find out where he sanctified it at. Go verse 6. Go ahead and read it.
If thou put the brethren in remembrance of these things.
Oh, wait a minute now. Is that what we're doing today? We're putting the brothers and the sisters in remembrance of these things, aren't we?
That's it, brother.
Go ahead and read.
Thou shalt be a good minister of Jesus Christ. Nourished up in the words of faith of good doctrine, whereunto thou hast attained. But refuse profane and old wives' fables, and exercise thyself rather unto godliness. For bodily exercise profiteth little.
I just want to throw that in for the for the gurus, exercise gurus. You see what Paul said, right? He said, for bodily exercise profited little.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I just want to throw that in there. But anyway, don't stop exercising.
Okay.
All right, so now, let's go to because he said it's sanctified by the word of God and prayer. Now we're going to find out where he sanctified, where he set this apart at. Let's go to Deuteronomy 14th chapter. Because there's beasts that you can eat and there's things that you cannot eat. We saw that earlier, didn't we? Deuteronomy, the 14th chapter, and we're going to pick it up at verse 3. Deuteronomy 14 and 3. Deuteronomy 14 and 3. We in Israel, we rarely read this. We always read where the things that you can't eat. But now we're going to read you today the things that the Lord said that you can eat also. Now we're at Deuteronomy 14 chapter and verse 3. Go ahead and read.
Thou shalt not eat any abominable thing.
Now who said this now? God gave this to Moses, tell the people, didn't he?
That's it, brother.
Go ahead and read.
These are the beasts which ye shall eat.
These are the beasts which you shall eat. Go ahead and read.
The ox, the sheep, and the goat.
Go ahead. Now, I eat oxtails. They had a little goat not too long ago. There's a place down in Chicago make some good goat, boy. In fact, next time I go there, I'm going to pick me up some goat. Go ahead and read. He said in sheep. Go ahead.
Sheep and the goat. The hart and the roebuck.
Now, these are deers right here. Go ahead.
And the fallow deer. And the wild goat. And the pegar, and the wild ox, and the camus, and every beast that parteth the hoof.
And every beast that parteth the hoof, go ahead.
And cleaveth the cleft into two claws.
And cleaveth the cleft into two claws. Go ahead, you got a split hoof.
Yes, sir.
Or split claws, go ahead.
And cheweth the cud amongst beasts.
And cheweth the cud. These three characteristics, what is chewing the cud? Grass and leaves and everything.
Yes, sir.
In other words, they don't eat no meat. Go ahead and read.
That ye shall eat. Nevertheless, these ye shall not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the cloven hoof.
Go ahead.
As the camel and the hare.
Now, people eat these things. People eat, certainly people here in America eat rabbit. That's the hare. I can't say nobody eat no camel. I don't know nobody eat no camel. But I'm sure that people eat it because the Lord said it right here.
Yes,
somebody must have been eating it. Go ahead and read.
And the hare. And the coonie. For they chew the cud, but divide not the hoof.
Go ahead.
Therefore they are unclean unto you.
They chew the cud, but they don't divide the hoof. So you got to have three characteristics here. They got to be cleaving to cleft, and they got to chew the cud. And divide it, that's dividing the hoof, and chew the cud, right? Go ahead.
And the swine.
And cloven footed, I should say. Go ahead.
Verse 8, and the swine.
And the, uh-oh, we got a problem now. Wait a minute.
No, we don't.
The swine. I'm talking about not us, because we Israel, we ain't eating no swine. But I'm talking about the world. They got a problem with this. You will take away their pig? I don't think so. Go ahead and read that over.
Yes, sir. And the swine.
Uh-huh.
Because it divided the hoof.
Uh-huh.
Yet cheweth not the cud.
Go ahead.
It is unclean unto you.
See, the swine, they eat almost everything, don't they? He said, and the swine, because it divided the hoof, yet cheweth not the cud. Go ahead. It is unclean unto you. Go ahead.
You shall not eat of their flesh.
You shall not eat of their flesh. You shall not eat of their flesh. You finished with that?
Nor touch their dead carcass.
Nor touch their dead. So when you go to the store, so you don't go in there, you go to the store and somebody say, hey man, why you going to the store? Pick me up some pork chops. No, I can't pick you up no pork chops. I'm not supposed to touch that dead carcass. You understand what I'm saying?
Make it plain.
Now, we're gonna deal with this a little bit. Here, let's go to Leviticus the 11th chapter. Now we're gonna start looking at the things that the Lord commands you not to eat. So we saw the things that you can eat. Now we're going to see the things that he commands you not to eat. First of all, before we go there, let's look at something real quick. I want to show you something real quick. Let's go to, we're going to read something out of the World Book Encyclopedia. It's called trichinosis. Before we go to Leviticus the 11th chapter, we're going to look at this real quick. It's called trichinosis. And we're going to see what animals this trichinosis is found in. It's going to say trichinosis, then C. trichina, and then we're going to turn back that page, okay? Go ahead.
Trichinosis C. trichina.
C. trichina. So this trichinosis is trichina this way. This way. Yeah. Now we're going to read about this for a minute. Start up there, yeah.
Okay. Trichina.
Uh-huh.
Trichina is a small roundworm that causes the disease trichinosis.
Uh-huh.
The worm is a parasite that is, it lives in and feeds on other animals.
Uh-huh.
The trichina infects human beings.
It infects human beings. So this is a human disease too. Go ahead and read.
And other animals, especially hogs.
Oh, wait a minute now. Especially hogs. Go ahead.
Bears and rats.
Bears and rats. These animals carry this trichinosis or trichina. And humans carry them too. But how do humans get this trichinosis or trichina? By eating what? Go ahead and read.
Most infections of trichinosis in the United States and Canada result from eating infected pork that has not been cooked enough.
Oh, so you can get a disease by eating pork? But you know, you get this disease because people eat bear, don't they? And people eat rats and mouse too. Go ahead and read.
Trichinosis is in hogs. Bears and rats usually result from eating infected meat and infected garbage.
They eat the infected garbage, then you turn around and eat the bear or the pig, or some people eat rats. And then that parasite gets in humans and live in humans. But the most thing that humans eat here in America is that pork, though, isn't it?
Yes,
now
sir.
check out what this trichinosis or trichina can cause.
Some persons carry trichina worms in their bodies for many years and never have severe symptoms. But in other persons, the worms irritate the intestine and cause diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting. When they pass through the blood, fever, headache, and muscular pain occur. After they reach the muscles, they cause swelling of the face and other parts and bleeding under the skin.
Now you see what this disease can cause. God knows what he's doing. This is why he don't want you eating these things. Because he knows that they are not any good for you. You know, everything God created is good. But everything God created is not meant to be eaten.
Teach.
Go ahead.
The worms may form their cysts in the diaphragm.
You know what the diaphragm is, don't you? What is the diaphragm?
It says chief muscle used for breathing.
The chief muscle used for breathing.
And
This is all just from eating pork, no.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
And making breathing painful. The disease is seldom fatal.
It is seldom fatal. But look what you got to go through when you look what you might take a chance on going through just by eating pork. And then God told you don't eat it in the first place. And then we eat it anyway and say, oh, I'm serving God. Come on. The Lord knows what he's doing. He created this man, right? He's the one who gave him his dietary from the start, didn't he? Not only did he give it to man, but he gave it to the animals and the fowls of the air too, didn't he?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
God knows what he's going. Now let's go to Leviticus 11th chapter. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Leviticus 11:1. We saw what the Lord said that you can eat. Now we're going to get more in depth about what you're not supposed to eat. Leviticus the 11th chapter. Leviticus 11, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Leviticus 11 and 1. Everybody got it? Is everybody following along so far?
Yes.
Go ahead and read.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying unto them, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, These are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth.
Go ahead.
Whatsoever part of the hoof, and is cloven footed, and cheweth the cud.
Go ahead.
Among the beasts that shall ye eat.
So now you don't have to wonder, can I eat this? Or can I not eat this? All you have to do is go to Leviticus 11th chapter, Deuteronomy 14th chapter, and see. Or even look at that beast and see. You know, do they chew the cud? Are they cloven footed?
Yes, sir.
That's all you got to do. Go ahead and read.
Verse 4. Nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud.
Go ahead.
Or of them that divide the hoof. As the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof. He is unclean unto you.
He is unclean unto you. Go ahead.
And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof. He is unclean unto you. And the hare, because he cheweth the cud, but divideth not the hoof. He is unclean to you.
Go ahead.
And the swine, though he divide the hoof, and be cloven footed, yet he cheweth not the cud. He is unclean to you.
Go ahead.
Of their flesh shall ye not eat, and their carcass shall ye not touch. They are unclean to you.
Now, how many times he going to say this? How many times the Lord got to say this? Go ahead and read.
Verse 9. These shall ye eat of all that are in the water. Whatsoever have fins and scales in the water.
Now God, he the one setting this, isn't he? He said, these what you can eat that's in the waters. They got to have what? Fins and scales. So crab, lobster, all this is garbage. They bottom feeders anyway, aren't they? This is all garbage. You know, people take the garbage and call it a delicacy and make all this money off of it. But God said that you're not supposed to eat it. Read verse 9 again. Start it over.
These shall ye eat of all that are in the waters. Whatsoever have fins and scales in the waters, in the seas, and in the rivers, them shall ye eat.
Go ahead.
And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be abominations unto you.
They shall be an abomination to you. If they don't have fins and scales, they are an abomination unto you. Does everybody know about these are things that the Lord hates?
Yes, sir.
That's what abomination means. Go ahead and read.
Verse 11. They shall be even an abomination unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh. But ye shall have their carcass in an abomination.
Go ahead.
Whatsoever have no fins nor scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination unto you.
Now he done said it a second time, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
The Lord is stressing this, isn't he? Go ahead and read.
And these are they which ye shall have an abomination amongst the fowls.
Go ahead.
They shall not be eaten. They are an abomination. The eagle, and the ostrich, and the osprey,
go ahead,
and the vulture, And the kite.
Now, when you
his kind.
Now, when you get a chance, you go ahead and read this on your own. We're not going to read all this. But all the fowls that you see that's in this chapter are unclean unto you. If they're not in this chapter, you can eat them then. And thank God chicken ain't in here, because we'd be in trouble, wouldn't we? Chicken and turkey, boy. Now, we're going to skip now. We're going to skip down to verse 20. Let's skip down to verse 20. Skip down to verse 20, because we ain't going to read all this. Go ahead and read. Verse 20.
All the fowls that creep going upon all four shall be an abomination unto you. Yet these may ye eat of every flying creeping thing that goeth upon all four.
Now he said, and these may ye eat of everything creeping thing that goeth upon all four. Go ahead.
Every flying creeping thing that goeth upon all four, which have legs above their feet, to leap upon the earth.
Go ahead.
Even these of them ye may eat. The locust after his kind.
Now I don't think we're going to be eating no locusts, but nevertheless, God said you could eat them, right?
Yes, sir.
Maybe you put some chocolate on it or something. Maybe I ain't chocolate covered locusts. But go ahead and read. I know if I got hungry enough I would, but go ahead and read.
And the bald locust after his kind. And the beetle after his kind.
Go ahead.
And the grasshopper after his kind. But all other flying creeping things which have 4 feet shall be an abomination unto you.
Go ahead.
And for these ye shall be unclean.
He said, and for these you shall be unclean. Go ahead and read.
Whatsoever touches the carcass of them shall be unclean until the evening.
Until the evening. Go ahead.
And whatsoever beareth out of the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. So now if you do, by chance, by mistake, because we all have done it, eat something that's unclean. Okay, so now if you find out, when you find out it's unclean, you stop eating it. Yes, sir.
Then, if you find out that day, you ate it that day and everything, you go wash your clothes and you go bathe yourself, and you're unclean until the evening. Until the evening. But go ahead and read.
26. The carcass of every beast which divideth the hoof, and is not cloven-footed, nor cheweth the cud, are unclean unto you.
Now why? He got all the way down here and saying this again. Go ahead and read.
Everyone that touches them shall be unclean. And whatsoever goeth upon his paws. Now
he said whatsoever go up upon his paws, like a dog, and cats, and bears. People eat these things. They eat these animals. Go ahead and read.
And whatsoever goeth upon his paws among all manner of beasts that go on all four. Those are unclean unto you.
Go ahead.
Whatsoever toucheth their carcass shall be unclean until the evening. And he that beareth the carcass of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. They are unclean unto you.
Go ahead.
These also shall be unclean unto you among the creeping things that creep upon the earth. The weasel and the mouse.
I just wanted to get here. And the mouse. Because people eat, I had some things show you about people eat mice and rats as a delicacy. Over in India and other parts of the world, people eat, we look at people like you got to be crazy to eat that. But other people say you got to be crazy for not eating it. Man, this is good. Here, let me show you. But he said, and the mouse, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
Finish that.
The weasel and the mouse and the tortoise after his kind.
Now, we're going to skip. Now, we're not going to read all this. So now, let's skip down to verse 44, and we're going to come bring this to a head. Verse 44. Go ahead and read it.
For I am the Lord your God. Ye shall therefore sanctify yourselves, and ye shall be holy.
Now, what does it mean? What do you sanctify yourself? He wants you to set yourself apart, right?
Yes, sir.
He said, for I am holy. Go ahead.
Neither shall ye defile yourselves with any manner of creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
Oh, this how you defile yourself when you eat these things?
Yes, sir.
This how you do. When you touch these dead carcasses of these things, this how you defile yourself?
It is written.
Go ahead and read.
For I am the Lord that bringeth you up out of the land of Egypt, to be your God. Ye shall therefore be holy, for I am holy.
He said, you shall be therefore be holy, for I am holy. And this, by you eating these things and not eating the things he commands you not to eat, then you are being holy, right?
Yes, sir.
If he tell you don't touch it and you don't touch it, then you are being holy, right?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
46. This is the law of the beast.
Oh, wait a minute now. This is the law. This is the law of the beast. Go ahead.
This is the law of the beast, and of the fowl, and of every living creature that moveth in the waters, and every creature that creepeth upon the earth. To make a difference between the unclean and the clean.
To make a difference between what?
The unclean and the clean.
The unclean and the clean. Because men are not making the difference between the unclean and the clean no more.
No, sir.
Men don't do this no more. Man, they tell you we can eat everything we want, anything we want, just pray over it. Even people eating monkey brains. Eat everything. People eating shark and you name it. People eating it. You know, they got that saying, I'll try anything once. Not me. I ain't trying no shark, no monkey brain, no tortoise, no mouse.
No, sir.
Go ahead and read. Read that verse 47 again.
47. To make a difference between the unclean and the clean. And between the beast that may be eaten.
Between the beast that may be eaten.
And between the beast that may, between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten.
Between the beast that may be eaten and the beast that may not be eaten. This is the law. And this is God's dietary law, not ours. We're just trying to go and follow along with it. But you know, man put pork just about almost in everything, don't they? You know, you look on TV, bacon this, bacon that, bacon this, bacon that. Probably even put bacon on ice cream. I don't know. But they got bacon on everything, don't they?
Yes, sir.
Let's go now. Let's go. But we know that the Lord said that swine is unclean unto you, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Let's go to Isaiah, the 52nd chapter. Isaiah 52 and pick it up at verse 10. Isaiah 52 and 10. Because we're going to read something right here. He's going to tell you, touch not the unclean thing. Isaiah 52, and we're going to pick it up at verse 10. Isaiah 52 and 10. Go ahead and read.
The Lord hath made bare his holy arm in the eyes of all the nations. And all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of our God. Depart ye, go ye out from thence. Touch no unclean thing.
So he said, well, now what is an unclean thing? Well, we just got to read the carcass of those dead animals, right?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Go ye out of the midst of her.
Of the unclean animals, right?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Go ye out of the midst of her. Be ye clean, that bear the vessels of the Lord.
He said, be you clean, didn't he? That bear the vessels of the Lord. But he said, don't touch the unclean thing, didn't he? Let's go to Numbers, the 19th chapter. Numbers 19. And we're going to look at something right here. We're going to get a little bit meticulous right here, or a little bit deep right here. This is Numbers, the 19th chapter. Numbers, the 19th chapter. Numbers, the 19th chapter. And we're going to get off the dietary. We won't be off the dietary law just for a minute here. And show you some other unclean aspects of man's living. What God deems unclean. Numbers 19, and we're going to pick it up at verse 11. We're going to get back to the dietary law in just a minute here. Numbers 19 and 11. Go ahead and read it.
He that toucheth the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days.
You see that? This is still enforced. If you touch a dead body of any man, you unclean for 7 days. Go ahead and read. You know, because God, we don't have to do this now. Well, okay, show me where the Lord done away with this. You know, people keep saying he done away with this. Why come you can't show me where he done away with it at?
Teach.
I can show you where he said do it, and then show me where he said don't do it. It's that simple. Go ahead and read.
Verse 12. He shall purify himself with it on the 3rd day. And on the 7th day he shall be clean.
Go ahead. Now, do we have the water purification now? You take the red heifer and then burn the dung of it and burn the skin of it and all this and take the ashes of that heifer and then take some water and mix it all this stuff together, and then that's called the water separation. The priest had to do this. We don't have a priest now, do we? No, but does that make you still unclean if you touch a dead body? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. So what do then? We have to go and wash ourselves then. You still unclean for 7 days, but you have to go and wash your clothes and bathe, and then you'll be clean again. Because you don't go around the rest of your life unclean, do you? Unless you go touch a dead body again. Unless you do this for your livelihood or whatever. You touch a dead body, because they touched dead bodies back during the time of the prophets and apostles, didn't they? They had to have somebody to bury these bodies back during them times, didn't they? Indeed. But God allowed some allowances for that, obviously, didn't he? He had to. Now, what verse you leave off at?
In the middle of 12.
Go ahead.
But if he purify not himself the 3rd day, then the 7th day he shall not be clean.
Go ahead.
Whosoever toucheth the dead body of any man that is dead, and purifieth not himself, defileth the tabernacle of the Lord.
See, that's why we don't come into the church if you have touched a dead body. Because you are unclean for 7 days. Go ahead and read.
And that soul shall be cut off from Israel, because the water of separation was not sprinkled upon him. He shall be unclean. His uncleanness is yet upon him.
Go ahead.
This is the law.
This is the law. Go ahead and read.
When a man dieth in a tent, all that come into the tent, and all that is in the tent shall be unclean 7 days.
You see that? So if you go in a room when a man died in a hospital, you go in that room, you unclean for 7 days. You unclean for 7 days. Go ahead and read.
And every open vessel which have no covering bound upon it is unclean. And whosoever touches one that is slain with a sword in the open fields, or a dead body,
go ahead,
or a bone of a man, or a grave shall be unclean 7 days.
Or a grave shall be unclean 7 days. So we don't walk in the graveyard then, do we?
No,
if
sir.
you do, you're going to be unclean for 7 days. Now you show me where the Lord has changed the way he done away with this. Because as long as you can't show me where the Lord has done away with this, then it is still enforced.
Make that plain, brother.
It is still enforced. Let's go to Leviticus the 15th chapter. Leviticus the 15th chapter. And we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Leviticus 15 and 1. I just want to show you the other side of unclean and clean. Not just by the food we eat, but the things that you touch, too. You can be unclean. Leviticus 15, and we're going to pick it up at verse 1. Leviticus 15 and 1. Now here's another one. We're going to get a little explicit here a little bit. So, nevertheless, this is the word of God. Leviticus 15 and 1. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, speaking to the children of Israel, and saying unto them, when any man have a running issue out of his flesh.
Now, if he got if he got a disease, I was reading a little bit about this, leprosy, diseases that fluids come out of your body. That's a running issue. Go ahead and read.
Because of its issue, he is unclean.
Go ahead.
And this shall be his uncleanness in his issue. Whether his flesh run with his issue, or his flesh be stopped from his issue.
Go ahead.
It is his uncleanness.
Go ahead. Every
bed whereon he lieth that have the issue is unclean, and everything whereon he sitteth shall be unclean. And whosoever touches his bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening.
Go ahead.
And he that sitteth on anything wherein he sat that hath the issue shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening. And he that touches the flesh of him that hath the issue shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening.
Go ahead. Every time, so you haven't sinned by doing this. You just unclean. Go ahead and read.
And if he that have the issue spit upon him
now,
that
wait
is
a minute.
clean.
He said spit upon him that is clean. You really gonna be unclean then, because you're gonna be all over that dude. Somebody spit on you. Go ahead and read.
And if he that have the issue spit upon him that is clean, Then he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening.
Skip down to verse 16. Skip down to verse 16 and read.
And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in the water and be unclean until the evening.
Now, what is seed of copulation? This is a man's bodily function when he lays with his wife. That's what the seed of copulation is. His bodily functions that proceed out of him when he lays with his wife. Go ahead and read.
And every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of copulation shall be washed with water and unclean until the evening. The woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean until the evening.
So it ain't just for the man then, it's for the woman too then, ain't it?
Make it plain.
Go ahead and read.
And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days.
Oh, put apart 7 days. So she's not supposed to, if she put apart 7 days, then she's not supposed to come to the sanctuary then, is she?
Teach.
You know, back in the old days, in the biblical times, they had their own quarters where the woman would go, she would have her handmaid and everything. But right now, we can't afford to do that. Right? So we have to make some type of adjustments here, right? She's still unclean for 7 days, though, isn't she? You know, you got one bathroom in your house. Okay, you got to use the washroom. You ain't going down to the gas station to use the washroom, and you ain't finna make her go. So you have to make some adjustments, don't you?
Teach, brother.
Go ahead and read.
And whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the evening.
So that don't mean you going kissing on the old baby and all that stuff. No, you don't touch her. Go ahead and read.
And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean.
That guy one time tell me, well, what if I bring my wife, was she unclean? Because I got 3 daughters. And they all, you know, they're young and everything. I can't leave them at home by themselves when they come on. They all come on at different times. I'm like, well then, I guess you or your wife going to have to stay home with them. Well, what about if I get a pillow for her to sit on? I'm like, everything that she sitteth upon is unclean. Well, I don't think. I said, well, look, man, this is what the book say. And then if you got a problem, now you got to go to the pastor now. Because I done just read you what the book say. I come down here once or twice a year or whatever. So if that's what you want to do, you got to deal with the pastor on this. But what does the book say? Everything she sit upon is unclean, didn't it? I didn't make this up. Go ahead and read. What verse you at?
21.
Go ahead.
And whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening.
Skip down to verse 25.
25. And if a woman have an issue of her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run beyond the time of her separation, all the days of the issue of her uncleanness shall be as the days of her separation.
Go ahead.
She shall be unclean.
So now she go past her regular cycle, then she's still unclean. Skip down to verse 28 and read.
But if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days.
Now hold it now. So when her issue stop, then if she go beyond her cycle, and then her issue stops, say it stopped the 9th day. Now she kind of count another 7 days. Then she clean. This Lord, see how meticulous the Lord been, and in depth He's been. Why? Because God, this is still instituted. That's why. God is being very meticulous and very particulars about this. Why? Because He wants us to do it. Go ahead and read. What verse you at?
Back at 28.
Go ahead.
But if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean.
Skip down to verse 32.
This is the law of him that have an issue, and of him whose seed goeth from him, and is defiled therewith. And of her that is sick of her flowers, and of him that have an issue of the man, and of the woman, of him that lieth with her that is unclean.
So not only can you be unclean by what you eat, but you can be unclean by laying with your wife. By touching certain things that your wife, if she on her cycle, by touching, so you can be unclean that way too. Man, see the copulation come out, he is unclean. You touch a dead body, you unclean for 7 days. You go step on the grave, you unclean for 7 days. If you, we didn't read about it, but if I touch a dead body, then I touch you, then you unclean, and you got to go bathe yourself, and you unclean until the evening. Now, let's go to Ezekiel, the 22nd chapter. Ezekiel, we're gonna get back to the dietary law. Ezekiel 22, and we're gonna pick it up at verse 22 and 23. Ezekiel 22 and 23. I hope I'm not boring, y'all. Ezekiel 22, but these things we need to know. We need to know. Ezekiel 22, and we're going to pick it up at verse 23. Ezekiel 22 and 23. Everybody got it? Amen. Go ahead.
And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto her, Thou art the land that is not cleansed, nor rained upon in the day of indignation.
Go ahead.
There is conspiracy of her prophet in the midst thereof, like a roaring lion ravaging.
Read up a little louder. Read up a little louder.
Hold up. Excuse me. Back at 25. There is a conspiracy of her prophets in the midst thereof, like a roaring lion ravaging the prey.
Go ahead.
They have devoured souls. They have taken the treasure and precious things. They have made her many widows in the midst thereof.
Go ahead.
Her priests have violated my law.
He said a priest have violated my law. Go ahead and read.
And have profaned my holy things. They have put no difference between the holy and the profane.
They haven't put no difference between the holy and profane. Men have put no difference between the holy and profane now. What else they don't do? Go ahead.
Neither have they showed themselves. Neither have they showed, difference between the unclean and the clean.
Neither do they show the difference between the unclean and the clean. And you know, people have a problem with this. They have a problem with showing the difference between the unclean and the clean. You finished that?
And have hid their eyes from my Sabbath.
And have hid their eyes from my Sabbath. That Sabbath's got an S on it, don't it?
Yes, sir.
So we're not just talking about the weekly Sabbath then, are we?
No, sir.
The Lord got his high holy days, which are coming up starting on the 25th day of March. His high holy days, these are Sabbaths. And that's why I'm giving you the dietary law now, because we got the feast days coming up, and we need to know what we can eat and what we can't eat, and what we're supposed to make and what we can't make. Go ahead and read. Finish that.
And I am profane among them.
He said, and you see by them not doing these things, showing the clean and the unclean, and keeping his Sabbath, he said, I'm profane among them. I'm profane among them. Let's go now. Let's go to Mark, the 7th chapter. Mark 7, because you know men want to go here and say that this is where Jesus done away with the dietary law. Because he said it's not what goes in a man that defiles a man, it's what comes out of a man that defiles a man. Jesus is dealing with moral issues right here. He's not really dealing with no dietary law right here. He's dealing with moral issues, like murder and lying and stealing. That's what he's dealing with right here. But I'm going to show you that he couldn't have been talking about that or doing away with the dietary law right here. Because if he did, then why is he going to come back and destroy men that eat swine's flesh and abomination in the mouth? And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. We're going to Mark this 7th chapter. I'm showing you we're not running from nobody. We don't leave a stone unturned. And we're going to, because this is where brothers want to go when they say God did away with the dietary law. Or the Lord did away with it. Mark 7 and 15. Mark 7 and 15. Go ahead and read it.
There is nothing from without a man that enter into him can defile him.
Go ahead.
But the things which come out of him, those are that defile the man.
So this is what we're dealing with.
Defile the man.
We're dealing with moral things right here. Because I'm going to show you that you still can be defiled if you eat certain things and you touch certain things. And I'm going to show you this is after Jesus died. Go ahead and read.
If any man have ears to hear, let him hear.
Now, see, so you got to have ears. You got to understand how to discern what the Lord is talking about. And he is dealing with moral issues right here. And he's going to show you. Go ahead and read.
And when he was entering into the house from the people, his disciples asked him concerning the parable. And he saith unto them, Are ye so without understanding also?
Go ahead.
Do ye not perceive that whatsoever thing from without enter into the man, it cannot defile him? Because it entereth not into his heart.
Because it don't enter into his heart. Go ahead and read.
But into the belly. And goeth out into the draught, purging all meats.
And purging all meats. But what are we gonna get down to? What is the Lord really dealing with? He dealing with morals right here. He's not really dealing with the dietary law. Go ahead, because if you do eat certain things, they are going to defile you, and the Lord going to destroy you for it. And I'm going to show you. Go ahead and read. Because that would be that would be unfair if the Lord said, well, you don't have to keep the dietary law, but when I come back, I'm going to destroy you for eating swine's flesh and abominations of mouse. I'm going to destroy you for doing that. That would be unfair to the Lord, wouldn't it? So now we are dealing with moral issues right here. We're not dealing with the dietary law. Go ahead and read, because he said purging all meats. All meats are not to be eaten, are they? All meats are not to be eaten. He's talking to the Israelites here. They know which meats are to be eaten and which meats are not to be eaten. So we ain't dealing with, because Peter, we're going to read some more. Go ahead and read. I'm going to show you that Lord is not talking about the dietary law right here. Go ahead and read.
Verse 20. And he said, That which cometh out of the man, that defileth the man.
Go ahead.
For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil thoughts.
Proceed what?
Evil thoughts.
Evil thoughts. Go ahead.
Adultery. Fornication.
Go ahead.
Murderers. Thieves. Covetousness. Wickedness. Deceit.
See, we're dealing with moral issues right here, aren't we? This is what defileth a man right here when you're looking on the moral side. Go ahead and read.
Lasciviousness. Any evil eye. Blasphemy. Pride. Foolishness. All these evil things come from within.
Go ahead.
And defile the man.
We're looking at the moral side, aren't we?
Yes, sir.
We're not really looking at the dietary law, are we?
Plain.
Let's go now. Let me show you. Let's go to Acts the 10th chapter. Acts 10. And we're going to pick it up at verse 11. Acts 10 and verse 11. Now this is after Jesus died, rose from the grave, and ascended to the Father, right? And we dealing with the moral side right here. Over there in Mark. Now I'm going to show you that he didn't do away with the dietary law. This is Acts 10 and verse 11. 10 and 11. Everybody got to say amen.
Amen.
Go ahead and read.
And saw heaven opened, and a certain vessel descended unto...
Now this is Peter. Cornelius had came to Cornelius and everything, right? And then Peter saw this certain vessel open, and what happened? Go ahead.
Descended unto him, as it had been a great sheet knit at the four corners, and let down to the earth, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth.
Because Peter was on the housetop and he was hungry. He was waiting to eat. He must have really been hungry, wasn't he? He seen all manner of beasts and everything. He was really hungry. But the Lord was showing him this vision. Go ahead and read.
Where were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air.
Go ahead.
And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat.
Now, this a voice came to him and said what? Rise, Peter, kill and eat. This is the Lord telling him, rise, Peter, kill and eat, right?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
14. But Peter said, Not so, Lord.
Ooh, you see what he told the Lord? He said, Not so, Lord. Go ahead and read.
For I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. If Lord had done away with the dietary law, then Peter wouldn't be saying this then, would he? Right. Peter been eating everything he wanted to eat. Oh, man, give me that piece of that swine over there, whatever. He said, Not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything common or what?
Unclean.
So the dietary law is still good right here, ain't it?
Teach.
It's still good, ain't it? Peter said, I have never eaten anything common or unclean. So obviously Peter thought or knew that at this time, even after Jesus died, that things were were still common and unclean then, right?
Indeed.
If they weren't common and unclean, then Peter wouldn't have said this. He wouldn't have said this. Go ahead and read.
15.
Uh-huh.
And the voice spake unto him again the second time.
Uh-huh.
What God hath cleansed, that call not thou common.
Now, you look, it would appear to say that God have cleansed everything, because he showed you all this manner of four-footed beasts and fowls of the air and all this, right? So it would appear right here in this scripture that God has said, what I have cleansed, that call not thou common. Right? So it would appear that he had done away with the dietary law, right? Well, we got to read some more, though.
Indeed.
Let's keep reading, because that's what people do. Just like they say, if you confess the Lord Jesus, if you confess the Lord, then you shall be saved. And they stop right there. You know, at one time we went to Bob's relative's houses, and his son was there. He's supposed to be the preacher and everything. And then everybody crowding around. Yeah, Robbie, he got you now, because he read that. I said, let's keep reading. They have not all obeyed the gospel. You forgot to read that part there.
Come on.
Everybody quiet now. So now we're going to keep on reading.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read. What verse you at?
16.
Uh-huh.
This was done thrice.
Uh-huh.
And the vessels were received up again into heaven.
Now, skip down to verse 28. Go ahead.
And he said unto them,
Uh-huh.
Ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew
Go
to
ahead.
keep company or come into another nation.
Uh-huh.
But God hath showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean.
Ooh, you see that? He said, God has shown me that I should not call any man common or unclean, but not any food or beast. Right?
Yes, sir.
Any man common or unclean. Not any beast. So what about the beast and the fowls of the air and the fish? Then some of them are clean and some of them are unclean still then, aren't they? He didn't say, God has shown me not to call any beast common or unclean. He said any man. So God was showing him about men, not food, wasn't he?
Teach.
He just used the food as to show you all type or all different nationalities. See, that's what he used these beasts and these fowls of the air to symbolize all nationalities. Because God was coming to clean, to give his word to everybody. God have shown me that I should not call any man common or unclean. Not any food. Not any food. Everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Let's go now. Let's go to 2 Corinthians, the 6th chapter. We winding down 2 Corinthians, the 6th chapter. And we're going to pick it up at verse, verse 6. 2 Corinthians, verse 14. 2 Corinthians 6 and 14. 2 Corinthians 6 and 14. Go ahead and read it.
Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers.
Uh-huh.
For what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness?
Now, because he told you, don't walk in the manner of the nations, didn't he? Now he's telling you right here, don't be unequally yoked with unbelievers. So you ain't got no business walking around with a person that's a thief and a liar and steal and all this stuff. You ain't got no business, as a servant of God, you ain't got no business hanging out with him. I don't care if it's your brother, your sister, it don't matter. You ain't got no business hanging out with him. Don't mean that you don't love that person or nothing like that, but you ain't got no business hanging out with him. Go ahead and read.
And what communion have light with darkness?
Uh-huh.
And what concord hath Christ with Belial?
Go ahead.
Or what part have he had